The date was April the 1st, 1945. American forces landed on Okinawa, the final stepping stone to mainland Japan. In the equipment manifest, alongside rifles and ammunition, came crates marked with unusual classifications, experimental optical equipment. Inside each crate, a device that would fundamentally alter the tactical balance of night combat. For 3.5 years, American forces in the Pacific had fought at a severe disadvantage after sunset. Japanese troops excelled at night operations. Their training emphasized darkness tactics from the earliest days of instruction. Their officers planned major assaults for the hours between midnight and dawn. American commanders faced a brutal calculation. Every night, defensive positions became vulnerable. Every night, infiltrators penetrated perimeters. Every night, Americans died unable to see their attackers. The problem wasn't courage or training. The problem was biology. Human eyes require light. In the Pacific jungle beneath triple canopy rainforest, nights offered no light. Clouds obscured starlight. Dense foliage blocked what little ambient illumination existed. American troops sat in listening posts, hearing movement but seeing nothing. Japanese soldiers trained since childhood in night operations moved with practiced silence. By the time defenders spotted muzzle flashes, the attack was already underway. Marine Corps after-action reports from Guadalcanal through Pleo documented the issue. Colonel Merritt Edson, commander during the Battle of Bloody Ridge in September 1942, watched his Marines hold defensive positions through brutal night attacks. The pattern repeated across the Solomon Islands, New Guinea, and the Philippines. Japanese forces consistently chose darkness for major offensive operations. American doctrine acknowledged the problem, but lacked technological solutions. Commanders tried various countermeasures. Flares illuminated positions but revealed defenders. Searchlights became priority targets for Japanese mortars. Tripwires and noise-making devices offered partial answers, but couldn't identify targets. The fundamental problem remained. You cannot shoot what you cannot see. 3,000 miles away, in laboratories at the Radio Corporation of America and Northwestern University, scientists worked on a solution that seemed like science fiction. Since 1930, Dr. Vladimir Zworykin at RCA had experimented with infrared technology. The concept was theoretically elegant. Infrared wavelengths exist just beyond the visible spectrum. Human eyes cannot detect them, but photoelectric cells can convert infrared into visible images. In 1936, Zworykin and Dr. G.A. Morton demonstrated an infrared tube. The technology existed. Making it battlefield-ready was another matter. Early prototypes proved impractical for combat. The first experimental systems weighed over 40 pounds. Image quality resembled television static. Range maxed out at 35 yards, engineers called them promising. Army ordnance officers called them useless. But warfare drives innovation faster than peacetime research. By 1943, reports from the Pacific made the infrared project suddenly urgent. The War Department needed a solution quickly. It had to be man-portable. It had to be ready in tropical humidity. It had to be ready for the final push toward Japan. The development effort expanded. RCA provided the core tube technology. Northwestern contributed infrared phosphor research. Frankfurt Arsenal designed the optical systems. The engineer board technical staff handled electronics integration. By September 1943, the board directed procurement to begin. On December 17, 1943, a contract went to Electronics Laboratory, Inc. The resulting device, officially designated the M1 carbine sniper scope, bore little resemblance to earlier prototypes. Total weight with battery pack 21 pounds. Effective range 70 yards for M1 version, 125 yards for the improved M2. Image quality was sufficient to identify man-sized targets in complete darkness. The system consisted of 3 components. First, an infrared searchlight mounted below the rifle barrel, projecting a beam invisible to the human eye. Second, a telescopic sight containing an RCA-1 P25 photoelectric converter tube, translating reflected infrared into visible green light. Third, a battery pack worn on the back connecting by cable to the scope and searchlight. The technology operated on a principle Japanese forces couldn't detect. When an American scout activated his sniper scope, an infrared beam flooded the jungle ahead. To the naked eye, nothing changed, but through the scope, the world appeared in green detail. Manufacturing costs revealed the complexity. The complete T3 carbine cost $35. The sniper scope unit with specialized optics and electronics cost far more. Total system cost approached $200. By comparison, an M1 Garand cost $85 at Thompson, $200. Production began in early 1944. Electronics Laboratory Inc. manufactured the scopes under tight security. By late 1944, the first units shipped to the Pacific. Total wartime production reached about 1,700 infrared scopes. 811 T3 carbines came from Inland Division, 118 from Winchester. These small numbers reflected deliberate limitations. The technology was experimental. Production capacity was constrained. Planners wanted field testing before mass deployment. Training proved straightforward. A competent rifleman needed minimal instruction. The scope added weight but remained manageable. The battery pack distributed the load well. Most importantly, the device functioned without complex calibration. Flip the switch, aim through the eyepiece. Everything within range appeared visible. Of the 1D700 scopes produced, between 150 and 200 reached Okinawa for the final Pacific campaign. The Battle of Okinawa began April 1, 1945. It would become the bloodiest campaign in the Pacific. Japanese forces defended the island with fanatical determination. Night infiltration attacks were expected. Sniper scope-equipped units positioned themselves in forward defenses. What happened over the next 82 days demonstrated the technology's tactical value. Japanese infiltrators approached using standard tactics. Silent movement, no talking, no wasted steps. Doctrine perfected over years of training. They expected the usual result. Approach to grenade range undetected, strike suddenly, then withdraw before Americans reacted. But at Okinawa, some U.S. positions possessed night vision. Marines with sniper scopes saw infiltrators clearly at 100 yards. They could identify targets, count numbers, observe movement. Most critically, they could engage precisely while remaining hidden. The tactical mathematics shifted completely. A Japanese infiltrator's training assumed mutual darkness. Once Americans could see to 100 yards, the equation reversed. Training meant nothing if the enemy saw you approaching. Silence meant nothing if infrared revealed you. Timing meant nothing if defenders had total situational awareness. Post-battle analysis credited the sniper scope with roughly 30% of Japanese small arms casualties at Okinawa. Estimates vary, but this reflects documented effectiveness from a tiny fraction of units. 150 scopes among tens of thousands of troops. Yet their tactical impact far exceeded their numbers. The psychological dimension amplified their effectiveness. Japanese troops reported confusion about how Americans detected night infiltrators. Post-war interrogations reflected this frustration. Japanese commanders couldn't explain casualties during night operations they believed flawless. They had no countermeasures. They couldn't see the invisible infrared beam. They couldn't develop tactics against a capability they didn't know existed. American troops, meanwhile, gained confidence. Forward positions with sniper scopes held more securely. Scouts conducted night reconnaissance previously impossible. Defensive perimeters needed fewer men because each operator covered more ground. The operational benefits extended beyond combat. Combat engineers used scopes to work on positions after dark. Medics used them to evacuate wounded without visible light. Artillery observers called fire missions at night with new precision. Limitations existed. The device consumed battery power rapidly. Full power drained batteries in about 4 hours. Replacement batteries weighed 9 pounds. Soldiers learned power discipline. Short bursts switch off between checks. Range was another constraint. The infrared beam illuminated only to about 125 yards. Beyond that, image quality dropped fast. But jungle combat usually occurred under 100 yards, so the limitation mattered less than expected. Weather affected performance. Heavy rain reduced infrared transmission. Fog scattered the beam. Smoke from explosions blinded the scope temporarily. Operators adapted, and despite challenges, the tactical advantage remained substantial. Maintenance proved simple. The scope had no delicate mechanical parts requiring specialists. Image converter tubes lasted about 6 months. When they failed, any unit armorer could replace them. Replacement tubes shipped in protective cases. Battery packs required only distilled water and charge monitoring. This simplicity was deliberate. Engineers knew complex equipment failed in tropical combat conditions. Heat, humidity, and rough handling destroyed fragile mechanisms, so they built it rugged. Heavy metal housing, waterproof seals, minimal adjustment points. The result was a device that worked reliably in harsh conditions. Meanwhile, the Germans developed a parallel infrared system, the Zielgerät 1229 Vampire. Codenamed Vampire, it entered service in February 1945. Between 200 and 310 units were produced by Ernst Leitz. The Vampire suffered major limitations, an effective range of only 80 yards compared to the American system's 125. Contemporary assessments described it as extremely delicate and too cumbersome for offensive use. More importantly, production numbers were tiny and combat deployment minimal. There is no reliable evidence of significant battlefield use. The American sniper scope, though late in the war, proved more practical and deployable. The difference wasn't just technical specifications, it was production capacity, logistics, and reliability. U.S. industry could mass-produce the scopes. American logistics delivered them to combat zones, and American doctrine integrated them effectively. Japanese intelligence knew by mid-1945 that Americans had some night vision device, but specifics remained unknown. Captured equipment was rare and usually destroyed. American security classified the scope as top secret. Operators were instructed to destroy their units if capture seemed likely. Even understanding the device wouldn't help Japan manufacture it. Japan lacked the industrial base for photoelectric converters. Their electronics industry focused on radar and radio. The precision manufacturing needed for infrared tubes simply did not exist in 1945 Japan. Even with a fully intact captured scope, Japan couldn't mass produce it. The industrial gap reflected broader differences. U.S. factories made consumer electronics, radios, televisions long before the war, providing transferable expertise. RCA, which created the core image tube, had made thousands of television components. The same principles of photoelectric conversion were improved and applied to infrared scopes. Japan had no similar industrial foundation to build on. As the war neared its end, distribution of sniper scopes remained limited but strategic. Units preparing for the planned invasion of Japan received priority. Training programs expanded while production continued steadily. Japan's surrender on August 15, 1945 came before the invasion. The sniper scope's full potential was never tested in the massive mainland operation planners anticipated. Post-war development, however, continued based on Okinawa's results. By 1947, total production reached roughly 4,500 units. The Korean War renewed interest in night vision technology. The improved M3 sniper scope entered production in 1950, with about 20,000 units manufactured. The basic principles stayed the same. Active infrared illumination converted to visible images through photoelectric tubes. The sniper scope never gained the fame of radar or code breaking. No headlines announced it. Security classifications kept it hidden for years. But for the men who carried it through Okinawa's darkness, it was profound. For the first time in human warfare, one side possessed reliable, man-portable night vision. Darkness, long a shield in combat, became transparent. The scope's legacy extended far beyond World War II. Principles developed at RCA and Northwestern became the foundation of all modern night vision devices. Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, Iraq, every night operation since relied on them. The technology evolved. Better image quality, longer range, improved battery life. Passive systems replaced active infrared beams. But the core idea stayed unchanged. See in darkness what your enemy cannot. The infrared sniper scope that arrived at Okinawa in April 1945 wasn't perfect. It was heavy, expensive, and required careful handling. But it worked. It turned night from a Japanese advantage into an American strength. It demonstrated a timeless principle of technological warfare. The side that controls information controls the battlefield. In the Pacific's darkness, Americans saw clearly while their enemies remained blind. The balance of power in night combat shifted permanently, and it began with 1,700 experimental scopes on modified carbines. Not enough to win the war alone, but enough to prove the concept. Enough to save lives, enough to change warfare forever.